I'm just going to be doing some lives the next couple days. I got Ben here. So what's up, Ben?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
To be here.
Ben Krupp, tell me a little bit about your company. Where are you at? Where are you located?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm located in Charlotte. I started my business originally in Ohio and then relocated to Charlotte in April. So we started in June. Currently 2 installers. We'll do probably about 300,000 this year.
Okay.
But it's going good, but new market. So
yeah,
getting everything up and running.
So how's that transition, taking a business from one area and just kind of rebuilding it?
Yeah, so it is much faster the second time, for sure. So I have like all my branding. Yeah, my branding's in place. I had all the equipment, the truck and trailers, wrapped, everything. So that's a lot easier. It's a better market. Like, it's definitely more competitive on the lead side, but where I was in Ohio was quite rural. So I was traveling a lot further for jobs. So I have a lot of times where, we're doing jobs 20, 30 minutes from the shop. So that's, that's nice. But yeah, it's starting from scratch too, like there's no referrals, there's no, no customer base to work from.
Yeah, that's true. So what was the first move that you made once you got in town?
Yeah, so basically rebuilt my website to get that localized. I started interviewing fairly early on so I could get some guys lined up, which I've had to go through a few guys to get like, people I'm really excited about. So got that going. I ended up finding a great shop space that had parking for the truck and trailer, plenty of room with that, good price. So I got that set up, and then obviously getting marketing and everything going. So I'm not doing a ton of marketing channels, but just getting all that going. So it's a little bit too like kind of the chicken and the egg thing with like selling jobs and having a crew ready to do the jobs at the same time. But it's coming together. It's doing pretty good. So we got a home show we're doing the end of October as well. So that'll be another good lead source. So that is just kind of trying to juggle all of that with starting.
Yeah, no doubt, man. What would you say your superpower is?
I'm much more like, I'm a good installer, but that's not as much what I would say I excel at. Like, I love people. I love sales, marketing. That's more, I think, what I would consider myself better at, or more my competitive advantage, I guess, if you will, compared to a lot of companies.
Yeah. Good deal, man. Excited to be at the summit?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So I was here last year. It was great. And the great thing about things like this, too, is that you really only need to walk away with like a few ideas to make it totally worth your time. Because if you are building a business, you have some amount of leverage with what you're doing. That even small incremental changes will have huge payoff over 5 or 10 years. So that's like last year I had, pages of notes, different things, different ideas. And then also just being able to meet people that can be good connections to have later on when you have questions or whatever. How
was your experience at the summit last year?
It was good. It was good. Yeah. So there were a number of like Scott Molashes. He was one of my favorites. He was really good. And then of course David Wyatt, who unfortunately passed away, but his talk was really good too. I loved meeting him, getting to know him a little bit. It was good. I mean, obviously I'm back, right? So man, it was worth it.
Yeah, I'm excited. So you just flew in today, or you came in yesterday?
Drove, so it's like 4 hours. Yes.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Yeah, I drove too because I had all kinds of merch and stuff to bring.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff to bring with you.
Guys, if you got any questions while we're on here, go ahead and feel free to ask. Cool, man.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure exactly what you'd have for the format of the podcast or whatever, but I put together 5 quick tips.
Yeah, let's have it. I want to hear it.
Okay, so tip number 1 is, obviously we all know your Google business page is super important for leads, one of the cheapest lead sources. So everybody's asking for reviews, or you should be asking for reviews. Ideally have some automation built in with that. But one thing that I have found that is easy and works really well is, to back up a little bit, the Google algorithm really likes to see photos on reviews. Customers also love to see it. So usually what I do, unless it's a house that's horrendously ugly, typically I'm going to take a few.
I don't want this one up there.
You have those occasionally, but usually I'll take like a handful of photos, find like 3 or 4 good ones. If they have an iPhone, I'll just airdrop it to them. Otherwise, I'll text it to them and ask them to leave those with the review. I have found people are actually more likely to leave a review because they're somewhat more invested at that point.
Yeah.
And they will leave them with photos.
Yeah.
I've asked a lot of customers to leave a review with photos, and if I don't provide the photos, hardly anybody does.
They don't take it, or they take bad pictures.
Yep. Or they will intend to take photos, but they won't quite get around to it, so they'll just leave no review. So that's one thing that is great. Another one that I've feel like I've been learning more and more is hiring for character, not competency. You can train gutters. You cannot train someone to be responsible, to be honest, to show up on time, all that stuff. So that's another one that is, I think is huge, especially if you are trying to create a culture in your business that is excellent. So training for culture, hiring for character, not for competency.
You can't teach someone to be a good person.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that it comes down to.
Right.
Like
they either are or they're not.
Yeah. And like I believe in people changing, but I don't believe as their employer I'm probably going to be.
It's not your job.
Yeah,
no, it's not your job.
That's not what I'm looking to do. So another one is I think like in the gutter growth program, we just had a call about automating follow-up, stuff like that. So that's definitely something you should be doing with automating your follow-up text, stuff like that. But to add to that, I have found a phone call always beats a text message. So oftentimes people won't answer and you just text them, that's fine. But if you can get the customer on the phone and talk through the different options they're considering, I've been able to close a couple jobs here recently that I was able to just talk through over the phone, and if pricing is an issue, maybe you can.
Was that like on a follow-up call or?
Yeah, just a follow-up call, just to check in and see where they're at. But I find that's really helpful. Also, I tend to be pretty quick with how fast I get out there for the estimate. So oftentimes I'm the first estimate they got. They're going to get a couple more. If I can't close it on the first visit, at least if I do a follow-up call with them, we can talk through.
Now you're back in the game.
Yeah, some of the different options and stuff that they're looking at and pros and cons. So,
and by the way, guys, 25% of people go with the first person. So if you just get there, you're pretty much 25% chance you're definitely going to sell it. There is a lot of value in I like to either be there first or last.
Yep.
I really hate to be the middle guy.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. So that one's pretty good. Another one is collect all of your customers' information. Make sure you have that in your CRM or whatnot. It's easy to, if they call in, they text or whatever, you just text them the estimate. You never get their email address, but have all of that information, have as much of it collected as possible, because even if you are not using this today, you will want this in the future, and it does add value to your business long term, the more customers that you have.
And guys, if you got any questions for us, go ahead and shoot me some questions. I'm waiting for someone else to hop on the podcast. They may or may not show up. I'm doing a different podcast every 15 minutes. It is a little hectic here because we got VIP going on and we're getting ready to have some pre-shows starting. I think they're starting right now, 2:00. So we're getting this all kicked up, and I'm super excited about the summit. We're going to have 3 days of just, tons of fun. I'm going to go live several times to kind of get you guys, so you guys can kind of see what we're experiencing here. You got anything else?
Yeah. So I got one more. Last one. So if a customer chooses you, there's always a reason they chose you. So different companies have different competitive advantages or different reasons that customers go with you. Maybe they just like you more. Maybe you're the cheapest price. You have the best customer service, whatever it is. But if your competitive advantage is your pricing, and we're going into more of a recessionary environment, if things slow down, everyone's going to lower their price if they have to get jobs. So if that is your main competitive advantage, you're going to have a really hard time in a slower economy. So focusing on branding, customer experience, your lead flow, everything like that, you still have some flexibility that if you have to, you can lower your prices some. But if your main thing is low prices, you're going to have a really hard time if you're better competitors.
And you're not able to really drop it at all. Like if you're set here and they're trying to beat you down more, like you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
I just had a job close yesterday, a Christmas light job. I was just so professional doing this estimate, and it was like this multi-million-dollar home, and it was really weird. I never had anyone do this, but she was a property manager, and she's like, I just want to sit down with you for 15 minutes and get to know you before we even talk about the job. I'm like, all right, so just like, tell me about yourself. So, I'm talking to her for 15 minutes. But I came in $2,000 higher than the April. You want to jump on in a couple minutes?
Sure.
I'm live.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome.
So then, you know, I was $2,000 higher than everyone else. She had like 4 bids, but she just wanted to go with me. So she called me up, you know, hey, Tim, can you bring this a little bit back to reality?
Yep.
And because I'm not a low price company, I have some room to budge. I could come down a little bit. And so I still didn't come down to what the other guys were. You know, I was still about $600-700 higher. But if you come in really professional, you know, you got your CRM, all your line items, like really good descriptions. Like on Jobber, I have an intro. You know, my intro tells about my service, so they're reading about the service, and you know, then they're seeing really professional line items. It's you know really detailed, and I got pictures in every single line item with what we're doing. And she was, you know, I might have gotten her to pay $2,000 more, but you know, it came down a little bit. But I was able to because I wasn't coming in at rock bottom prices.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, like I had someone, my pricing came in at like 3,700. They got another quote for 24. They were debating between the two, but I came down to 3,300. They were really happy with that. I still have enough margins to make it work. And that's also with like, if you can get on the phone with them and talk through some of this stuff after they're comparing their options, a lot of times there is some flexibility, but you still set your value at $2,000 above everyone else. So, you know, they feel like they're getting a great deal. You're still getting the job, you know, so it really works out quite
Correct. Correct. They feel like they really got a value because they got the top company to come in, and we budged a little bit, and but I still have great margins, you know.
Yep.
Good deal, man. Yeah. So, what are you really excited about the summit this year? Is there any like particular classes or anything you're stoked about?
I'm excited so I'm recently not going out with my crew as much. So I'm currently the next thing on the agenda is to really lean into my sales process and improve that a lot. So I'm really looking forward to basically everything on the sales side. And actually, let me ask you a question about that as well. So I've been reading some sales books and stuff as well. And one thing that people often talk about is you don't want one-sided conversations. You know, I don't want to come in there and just tell them about my product. I want to get them talking and listen to them. So aside from the obvious age of the home, you know, maybe what their plan are, they planning to stay there for a couple years, or are they going to be there long term, you know, some things like that. What are some questions that you like to ask to get the customers talking about? You can get them talking about all the random stuff about their life, but like to get them talking more about the gutter project, some of what they're thinking, you know, any ideas they have or whatever. How do you get them talking about things like that?
One question I like to ask is about the timeline that they're looking to get the job done. Because if you get that out of them and, you know, the timeline's next week or 2 weeks from now, it's going to be easier for you to close that job because now you know there's some urgency to it. And to where if you're not asking that, this might be something they're planning 6 months from now. Or if you don't ask them that, their intention is probably to get it done next week. It probably is, but you don't have the leverage to push it along because you didn't know that they want it done sooner. So that's like one thing I like to make sure I'm asking is, you know, what their timeline is. And then I help to push it towards that timeline quicker. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there any other questions that you like with customers just in general that are things that you consistently are asking on most estimates?
I like to just ask them. I can't say it's like a specific question, but I know that questions are the route. And so the more questions that you could ask them, what you want to do is you want to discover all of the objections before they can give it to you. And so if you're asking a ton of questions, you could kind of filter out and feel, you know, what their real objections are. You know, even if you give them the price and they're just like, oh, okay. And then, you know, they try to push you off, like figure out why they're not committing right then and there, you know. Is it the price, you know, or, you know, whatnot. But the thing is, questions are the answer. You don't want to have an objection and not know what the objection is. So the questions are going to discover the objection so you know how to attack it.
Makes sense. And trying to get ahead of the objections.
Get ahead of it. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense.
Let's see what time we got here. Cool, man. We got 5 more minutes. Let's keep rocking
awesome. Yeah. So I got a couple other questions for you then. Have you done home shows before?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about home shows. What have you, so like I mentioned before, we have our first home show we're doing towards the end of October. what kind of tips can you give me for a successful home show? I mean, obviously talk to people, be friendly.
So you want to have your CRM out handy, and you want to schedule estimates. You do not want to hand out cards and wait for people to call you. You want to get them on the schedule right then and there. So your job at the home show is to schedule estimates.
Okay.
Period. And you're getting their information, plugging it in, setting the schedule right then and there. If you do not do that, and you get 30 cards of people just interested, now you're calling all of them, and only 10 are going to answer you, and you just lost 2/3 of your work. You know, so while you have them there, while it's hot, while they're ready, get them scheduled now. And so there's no reason for them not to schedule you. You don't need to hand a card and make a whole nother process. Success likes speed. And so the faster you get things done, the more efficient it is. If you put things off, things just don't get done. And so you hand them the card, they just got 30 other cards from everyone else that's all around there, and nothing's going to get done. And if you think that they're literally going to take all 30 cards and call everyone the next Monday, they're not. They're not. So you need to schedule those estimates on the spot and just get it done with.
Okay. Now, are you typically, so with estimates, one of the things I try to avoid, if possible, is like crisscrossing.
Yeah.
Where, you know, trying to get like a little bit of route density.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, how would you approach that? Are you scheduling specific time slots still right away? That.
So I'm in an area that's quite large. Like, we got 36 towns in the county. I don't know how many cities, but there's 36 towns. And then we also are doing another county just north. It's like 4 or 5 cities. So you have I have a wide area. So I'm trying to do it geographically, like north end first or out west. But the thing is like, I'm not the person that really likes to say I'm going to be here at 1 o'clock and I'm showing up at 1 o'clock. I feel that if you set a time for 1 o'clock and you're driving around doing all kinds of estimates, it's really hard to perfect those times, right? And so if you're not there at 1 o'clock and you told them that you're going to be there at 1 o'clock, they're upset. And they're upset because you broke an expectation. So what I do is I set the expectation. So I do time blocks, 2-hour time blocks. We're going to get there between 9 to 11, and the estimator will call you on the way. Now, if things aren't perfect on my route, and I'm realizing maybe I should go to this one first because it's closer, because maybe the person answering the phone, they don't know the area as well as you do, right? And it's hard, especially 36 towns or in a big area to know that. But if you have a time block, you can kind of adjust it. So you're still getting to people within that 2-hour time block. So they're not unhappy. It don't matter when you get there. They know that you're going to call them on the way because you're telling them that you're going to call them on the way. And you didn't break any expectations, but you set the expectations. So you just got to take charge of what that expectation is and deliver on it. Okay. So I don't like saying 1 o'clock because it's just too hard to do it when I got 6 other estimates and this guy might talk my ear off. And I don't want to make him not talk my ear off because I'm trying to close a job. So I don't want to rush him along just to get here. So that's really stressful. I get rid of the stress and do 2-hour time blocks.
Okay, makes sense. And how much time are you typically expecting? Like, how much time do you allow yourself on each estimate? Are you figuring about 2 hours?
I figure about 1 estimate an hour.
Okay.
So in that time block, I'll have 2 scheduled.
Yep.
And maybe I'll push someone ahead. So people usually don't mind unless they're just not going to be home, and then you just won't go there. So I'll call them and see, is it okay if I come a little bit early? I'm running a little bit ahead of schedule. 9 out of 10 times they say yes, and you just keep going with your day. Because I also don't want to sit there for an hour twiddling my thumbs because I had to be there at 1 o'clock and it's 12 o'clock.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, how much time we got?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. All right. Do you have any just interesting, non-conventional lead generation ideas? So everybody has all the main things: the Google Ads, the yard signs, whatever. What are some of the ways that you've gotten leads before that are things that could actually be done that are like not something you would immediately think of?
Just something that's unconventional. Well, I feel like a lot of people aren't networking like they should.
Okay.
And so one thing that I'm actively doing right now is I'm doing some speed networking events and just going to local networking events. And the reason why I like networking is because, I could throw money at ads, and I do, but the thing is those ads are competitive because there's no reason for them to trust you yet. except maybe you have a ton of reviews and, great brand, but no one told them to trust you. And so when you start networking, those referrals are not competitive. And so if you can really build your network in your local community, and everyone starts recommending you, you're not going up against anyone anymore. Like, it's literally just you. And they want to go with you because their friend recommended you and their friend trusts you. And so you're speeding up the trust factor, and you're getting rid of all the competition. And so I like that. Also, yard signs are kind of unconventional. A lot of people don't like doing them.
That's true, yeah.
And another thing I like about yard signs is the same thing, is they're not on Google looking at 3-5 other companies. Like, they just called you because they seen you. And that's probably a less competitive bid.
Yep.
So I think if you can get bids that are less competitive, it's going to be easier to get those higher prices. And it's going to be easier to just sell the job. Like, I usually sell 80-90% of my referrals. There's really no reason that you shouldn't close a referral.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the trust
is there.
established.
It's already there.
So with the networking, how are you finding those events?
Local Facebook groups is how I'm finding it. In my particular area, there's a Facebook group that kind of talks about all the events. And listen, if you don't have events in your area, put them on. Like, we just started the speed networking. I got a coffee shop, and we're doing it twice a month. We launched our first one last week. I've already gotten referrals out of it. I made friends with a plumber that's really well known in the area. And like today, actually, I seen a post on Facebook in one of the local groups, like, anyone know a gutter guy? She was on there recommending me. And it wasn't a big group. You don't need big networking groups. I went to a networking event last week or the week before with Grant. There was 200 people there. And honestly, that was hard to network because you almost got to know who you're going up to talk. It's harder. But when you're in a small networking group, and that's what we did with the speed networking, there's like 25 of us. You set everyone at a table and you have some questions, and you got tables of 4 people together, or 3 or 2, and you just rotate, and now you only got 25 people and you're actually getting to know everyone. So there's a lot of value in small networking groups.
Yeah, very cool. And was that a professional networking event, or just networking in general? People want to get to know people.
All business owners.
Okay, business owners.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had coffee and breakfast, and it was like an hour thing. And so if you don't have it in your area, put them on. People will come. Utilize Facebook groups, local Facebook groups, and get the community together.
Yeah, I like it.
So appreciate it. Come on, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
No problem. You got any